Hey everyone, welcome to the Darksliders podcast with Doug and Brad.
Hi.
So, we've been talking a lot about Metal Gear Solid 5 the past couple of weeks. So, we're going to do
hmm
this episode a little bit different. We've been playing kind of a bunch of smaller games. Most of these are indie games, PS Plus games, things like that that have come out randomly during that course. That we've kind of been playing in between long stretches of Metal Gear Solid 5, so kind of using these as a break. So, none of these are things we've put like hours and hours into, but just things that we've been playing that we thought might be interesting to talk about for a little bit. So we're going to run through these really, really quick. Probably not very quick, but we'll pretend like
Yeah.
it's quick.
Depend. This is gonna be a lot of tangents, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be no order to this at all. But anyway,
hmm
we'll start with a couple that we did put a little bit more time into. So,
hmm
Doug, you played a game called SOMA, which I've never heard of before.
Yeah. So Soma is kind of it's an indie game that was, I guess it must have been released just last week. I think I actually picked up the day it came out because I was actually kind of anticipating it. So Soma is a game by the guys who did the original Amnesia game, which was sort of like this really weird horror game where you're kind of creeping around a castle and there's a monster that's like chasing you and trying to drive you insane. And I really didn't like that game, which is kind of weird and why I was anticipating Soma. The reason I was kind of anticipating Soma is because I kept hearing it had a really really good sci-fi story and it wasn't as scary as Amnesia. And actually, those are like two kind of issues I had with Amnesia. I found Amnesia like too scary that I wasn't having fun with it, and the story I didn't care about. So this kind of fixed like two of the only issues, like the major issues I had with Amnesia. So it's really really hard to talk about this game without getting to spoilers. But I guess the best way to start this would be this game is BioShock if BioShock was an adventure game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds
So
fun.
yeah. So I guess to start with, actually, it's a very, very similar setting, which is actually kind of a detriment to the game. It's set in an underwater laboratory, and
Whoa, how
it.
original.
No, I know it sucks. I hate that. It's not that the setting sucks. It sucks because it's actually a really, really interesting to look at setting. But you keep thinking in the back of your head like, oh, this reminds me of Bioshock. This reminds me of Bioshock, and it has a lot of similarities to Bioshock with you don't pick up tapes necessarily, but you meet a lot of. It's hard to describe. You sort of like read the minds, I guess, of like dead people around the station. You sort of hear how they had died.
Kind of like everybody's gone to the Rapture.
Actually, that's a good one to stay. Actually, yeah. This is like this is like one of those like games where you just walk around. You don't shoot anything. You just walk around. I'm about 3 or 4, 5 hours into it, maybe somewhere in that range. Definitely way past the intro. Definitely like into the meat of the game. Um, and it's not really a difficult game. There's not really intense puzzles to solve, but you're mostly following the narrative. And I can't give anything away about the narrative. Just know that if you like good sci-fi, you're gonna like this one. It's definitely a bit headier than a lot of games I've played. I mean, just getting off of Metal Gear Solid 5, I think Brad, you sort of finished it, like I kind of sort of finished it.
Yeah,
Um, but we both
the
felt,
main story, quote unquote.
yeah, and we're gonna leave it at that. We'll probably do a spoiler cast eventually, but I think we both felt the Metal Gear Solid 5 story was really weak, and that game was like,
Horribly weak.
yeah. So this game is kind of cool, like kind of coming off that, and like this is sort of like refreshing, like, oh wait, no, you can actually tell really really good narratives in a video game space. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away with the story, but it's kind of evocative of Event Horizon. Actually, kind of reminded me of Event
Ooh.
Horizon the most, and a lot of, I guess, Clive Barker, sort of that.
Yep.
It's sort of that. What's the? I don't know how else to describe
Like
this horror.
supernatural sci-fi horror.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's kind of like the there's no hope kind of horror. Like whatever. Like it's kind of like that. I guess an Event Horizon kind of spoilers for Event Horizon. Like they're basically opening a portal to hell.
Spoilers for the early '90s sci-fi movie that nobody saw. That is fantastic.
It is really good. Everybody should see Event Horizon. This isn't even a spoiler. You can still totally enjoy the movie if you know this. They sort of open a portal to hell, and there's no escape for these people. That doesn't happen in this, but it has that sort of like all hope is lost, and you're just sort of stuck. And it's kind of cool, sort of being in that space that you felt like you've already lost, so you're just sort of like picking up the pieces. I'm just trying to like give you the sort of emotions that you would have by like going through this game. and it's really, I don't know. There's some really intense scenes that I wasn't expecting. There's a lot of like really personal. God dang, this game's so hard to talk about. I remember reading a bunch of reviews about it that people said it's good, but we can't tell you all the good things without spoiling how like what they are. So if you like a game that has a good narrative, if you thought that BioShock probably would have been better served as an adventure game instead of a shooter, then I would just say go pick this up. If I was gonna actually, it's kind of funny because you brought up Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and as I was playing, I was actually comparing the two. I felt like there's it's kind of funny because they're in the sort of the same genre of like you just sort of like walk around, you sort of experience the environment, you sort of experience the story. You don't really have like a
Yeah.
you're not a strong active participant in it. Um, but they feel so different that I can't compare them directly. I think I liked Everybody's Gone to the Rapture a little bit more just because I felt Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was just a little bit, I guess classier is not the right word. Um, it's not that this game's like trashy by any means. It's like it's just really good. It's just I felt like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is sort of like it. You could show Everybody's Gone to the Rapture like on television and it'd be okay. This one is like I was saying like fans of Event Horizon. Like they're just two completely different
Yeah.
moods, different emotions, different everything. But you definitely are you're a much more active participant like gameplay wise in this one. Some of the game, I guess I haven't described the gameplay at all. You just basically walk around the station. Sometimes there's these beasts that sort of follow you around. It's kind of like Amnesia. You have to like sneak around. If they see you, then they'll like run after you. And the beasts are really really creepy because they constantly talk to you, and they're clearly insane people to some extent, or there's some semblance of a person. So you feel kind of bad for them. Like, and I kind of felt the same way I
Huh.
felt with Bloodborne. Is like as I'm going along, I don't know if what I'm doing in the game is a good thing. Like you're kind of following around the narrative, but like all the characters you meet, you don't really trust. You're not really sure if like what you're doing is the right thing, but your character believes what they're doing is right, which is kind of a cool dichotomy,
That's
I guess.
interesting.
Yeah, I really like this game, but this is a game like we'd have to save for a spoiler cast before I can actually talk about anything substantial about it.
You told me like earlier this week. You said,
Hmm.
"Never mind. Don't buy Everybody's Gone to Rapture. Buy Soma." Like, are they
Yeah,
really that similar? Where you would just put them in like the exact same thing? And if
I.
so, does this game have a button where I can actually run at a reasonable pace?
Oh yeah. I actually when I said don't buy Everybody's Gonna Rapture, buy Soma, I was talking specifically to you. Like,
Oh,
not that Soma is a worse game than Everybody's Gonna Rapture, but it's definitely more active. It's definitely not nearly as slow, and yeah, I don't think you need to be in a very specific mood to play this game. It's just it's more gamey than Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which I think
gotcha.
people will appreciate. So yeah, in that regard, it's still a lot of walking around and stuff, but it's definitely not. It's definitely a
This
much faster pace than Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which is funny because they're still both like walking games.
this slow like there's a house in the distance. I'll be there in 6 minutes.
Oh no, this game's pretty. Linear is not the right word, but it's a better word than like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is sort of open. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's much more linear than Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I think you would actually like it a lot if you saw this or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture on sale. I would say you Brad should pick this one up over Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I think if people want sort of like a really weird, unique experience, this is not nearly as unique as Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
why I might prefer Everybody's Gone to the Rapture over it.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on here.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as unique of a game. This past weekend was the Rainbow Six Siege beta, which I managed to grab a code from somewhere. I don't even remember where I got the code from. Some website was giving them out. Probably Destructoid.
Probably Destructoid.
Um, but they were giving out codes for this. So I got into it and played around a little bit with it. So basically, if you didn't hear about it, the beta kind of got off to a rough start just in terms of getting into matches. So
Mm-hmm.
what was it, Friday night? I think it started Friday. Friday night I sat down for like an hour to play it. And in an hour I think I played half a match because there were just
Mm-hmm.
so many connection issues.
Jesus.
I came
Well,
back to it like 2 days later and it ended up being much better by the time it finished up. I don't know. It might actually still be going on. I'm not sure.
but okay, see that's the thing. I think we have sort of like a warped perception of what a beta is. Like that sounds like an actual beta.
Yeah, no, no, no. And then that was one of those things where I was like, I wasn't upset about it. It was just kind of like, oh, man, I wish this, like, I at least wish I could get into a game and like have some lag or something so I could see what this is. Because just like sitting there, like having never played this before, like, all right, ooh, I got 3 players. oh shit, I've been sitting here for 5 minutes with these same three players. All right, back out, restart.
Oh god.
Like I'm okay with the beta if it's like I get into it and like I'm halfway through a game, it's like kicks you out, connection error. Like okay, that I understand, but it's like I want to at least get into a game.
Yeah.
But
Now,
yeah, like
before you start getting into like gameplay and stuff, have you played Rainbow? I've never played Rainbow Six like at all.
I played the like old school like Rainbow Six, the original back on PC in like the mid '90s.
Oh, okay, like when it's like still a strategy game sort of thing.
Yeah, and then I also played. There was like a wintry expansion pack. I don't remember the name of it. But there was like a soldier in like Arctic gear on the cover of
Oh
it.
yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head. Like I was like I knew that's the expansion packs. I have no idea what it was called though. Yeah,
Yeah, and then I also played the Vegas games, which were very much not Rainbow Six games,
yeah.
back on the Xbox 360. So I have a little bit of experience with this, and I was kind of interested just because the way that they were showing this, I felt like was a very interesting mix of the normal, what's basically become the standard Tom Clancy gameplay
hmm
with kind of that classic Rainbow Six. And it very much is. This is very different than any first person shooter I've played. And it's definitely a unique experience when you compare it to like Call of Duty, Battlefield, things like that. So the way it works in like the team deathmatch mode, one team is defending a bomb and one team is trying to defuse the bomb. But the way it
Okay.
starts out is it starts out with a preparation phase, which is like 3 minutes long.
hmm
So one team is sitting there trying to put up like barriers through the house. You can like lay barbed wire in different spots. You can like reinforce doors, things like that. So all
Yeah.
these things to slow down the other team. And while you're doing that, the other team sends in, I don't remember what they're called, but they're basically like remote control cars with cameras on them
Yeah.
to go drive around and see if they can find the bomb. Because every time, even though you're on the same map, the bomb moves around, which is kind of neat. So it's
Oh,
not like
okay.
you always know where it is. There's always that objective of trying to find it.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, can they shoot the car? Like, are you kind of like powerless as the defending team against the
No, no,
car
no.
that
If you
can
see
shoot?
the car, you can shoot it and blow up the car, and then that person's just out of the preparation phase until the action phase, was what it's called, starts.
Oh, does everybody have a car?
Yep.
Oh,
So
that's kind of.
all,
Oh, so there's like
yeah,
six little RC cars running around.
yep, trying to find this bomb. Well, the other six, or it's I think it's five on five. So five RC cars and then five guys building like all these barriers to keep the other team out.
hmm
Um, so that's kind of different because it actually puts into some of that strategy that the old school Rainbow Six games had, where you actually have to think through, okay, if I block this door, I block this door. I mean, eventually, it just became for me at least. I will be honest, I sucked at this. I am so far away from being good at anything realistic shooter wise. Give me Halo, Gears of War, that I can do,
Yeah.
but Splinter Cell, this, anything even remotely realistic, I'm utterly worthless. So I ended up just blocking every door I ran into. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but but basically, so then after that, like it kicks it back and everybody goes back to the spawn point. If you find the bomb, then it just puts an objective marker on it when you
Okay.
go into the house or into the building or whatever. And if you don't, you actually have to actively search for it as you're trying to get in.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Everybody is on a one death, so there's no respawns.
hmm
So again, you have to be very very careful and methodical about where you're moving, where you're looking, and everything. Which again,
That does
not
not
my
sound like the type
not
of
my strong suit at all.
game.
But it's definitely interesting, and I like that it's trying to do something different with it, and not just trying to be COD, Battlefield, Ghost Recon, those types of things.
hmm
I personally thought it was very very slow, and that to me just got a little boring after a couple matches. And again, it might be just because I was terrible at it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It was very methodical, very oh crap, I died. I have to watch these people play for 3 more minutes.
Oh, okay. That's you didn't play a lot of Counter-Strike, did you?
I played a little bit, but that was always my issue with Counter Strike too. Is
Yeah.
like if I die, I should be able to pop right back in there and be ready to go.
Yeah, it's definitely like a kind of weird gameplay style because I feel like you said you're not very good at this game. Like it definitely punishes if you're new at this game. Like at those kind of games because if you're new, you're going to die really quick and everybody else is going to be so much better than you, so you're always going to be the first one out and you're going to spend most of your time waiting. I can understand why those games can be kind of frustrating, why they just wouldn't click with everybody.
Yeah. It was nice because it felt like you could kind of do however you wanted to when it came to like infiltrating the house. So I mean, there's one map that came up several times while I was playing where you're actually trying to break into a house. That's why I keep saying house. There's another one with other buildings, but the one I keep picturing in my mind is a house. So you can actually go in and you can go, okay, I'm going to go in through the front door, and then there's like a staircase, or you can go into the basement, or you can rappel up to the top of the house and go through like a second story window, and then you're in the top of the house. So I mean, there's lots of ways to be really strategic about it. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was just playing public matches, which I think was all that was available in the beta. But I feel like if you actually had a team of people working together, it could go really, really well, and there'd be a lot of strategy to put into it.
Yeah, yeah. This game sounds kind of like miserable if you're playing with like a bunch of random people because it's if they are trying to push that strategy aspect. Quick question: does like all the strategy and stuff just kind of go to shit once the guns start firing though?
Not really, because I never ran into like a big firefight. There's none of that in this. It's lots of like, oh shit, there's a guy in the hallway. Who shoots first? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
And then that guy's gone. And then because the way it's laid out, so like in the house map, there were basically the ways that most people went in. There was like a front window, a back window, and then a staircase if the bomb was on the second floor. So there
Hmm.
would be guys going in all three. So as the defending team, you'd kind of have to watch all three. So there might be two guys in a hallway, one guy in a room, things like that. So you never really ran into that 1-on-5 situation, or you never ran into that point where it's like all five people in one confined room just shooting at each other. I never ran into that.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So,
Um,
do you like it or do you not like it, or is this like not a game for you?
I would put this in the category of not a game for me. I
Hmm.
think it's a very well designed game. It's a very interesting take on multiplayer. It's a very, I think, good evolution of what Rainbow Six should be, because it's
Hmm.
taking that strategy aspect and putting it into gameplay in a meaningful way without having you sit there and click through menus for 10 minutes before you actually get to the game.
Yeah.
But it's also really well done gameplay in terms of like the first person shooting aspect, and it's very intuitive in the way that you can actually think through this. So every time I approached like the house, every time I had a little bit better of a sense of what I needed to do with it.
Oh, okay.
So I think it'll end up being really cool, and I think a lot of people will really get into it. I just think it's one of those games where this is not my style of game. This is way
Yeah.
too slow of a game for me. I mean, we talked
Hmm.
about that with Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I like things moving quickly. I
Yeah,
don't.
and Bloodborne and pretty much like any game I like.
Yeah, all those slow games you always sit there and talk about. No. So maybe this is a game for you. Maybe this is your first person shooter. This slow,
I
think it through.
I would think this would be awesome as like a co-op game.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Just like I feel like as soon as you start like shooting other people, like these games, I think this game sounds like really fun. Like when you like in the its infantile stage when everybody's sort of learning the game. But I feel as soon as everybody learns the game, like all that sort of strategy aspects kind of go out the window because like okay guys, do strategy A, and everybody knows strategy A because everybody's gone on the internet and knows what strategy A is.
Oh yeah,
So
I get what you're saying.
defense is gonna have the perfect strategy B. It's like okay, they're using strategy A, let's go strategy B. So I don't know.
There is a
Yeah.
there is a co-op mode in this too, and I didn't play too much of it. I only played like one or two matches of it, but it's five people, and then you have to go in against like a pre-set up like terrorist group, and there's a couple more than five people, and it is that actual more classic Rainbow Six infiltration gameplay.
Was that
Um,
fun or no?
I thought it was fun. I didn't do too much with it. It just, I mean, it kind of felt like any other. I don't even know the term for it. Like Black Ops or Call of Duty has Spec Ops or Halo's Firefight. It felt very similar to those. Just again, a more slowed down, methodical version of it.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
I think it'll be well received. I think people will like it, and I think putting some more polish on it. I think this didn't this get pushed back to December, or is it early next year? I don't remember at this
I don't
point.
remember. I just know I think a lot of games just got pushed because like there's gonna be some insane holiday season stuff, and like games are just kind of like they're just gonna get buried. Like this is a game that would absolutely get buried because if
Oh,
people are gonna choose
100%,
between
yeah.
this and like Fallout 4 or I don't know whatever.
Black Ops
There's a
3 or Halo 5.
holy crap. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this will get buried underneath the rest of the first person shooters completely. So I
Hmm.
think it's a good idea to move it out. I think this is one of those games that if you release it at the right time when there's not a whole lot else going on, I think would have a much bigger impact than something would be, Thanksgiving weekend or whatever.
Yeah. Hmm. I might check it out. This is like something I'd like to play like a demo of and then probably never play again. I have that thing with like with like multiplayer only games where I'm not going to spend $60 on a multiplayer only game. Probably only spend like 20 at most. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was with this. I don't After playing the beta, I don't have any intentions of playing the full game just because I know what it is. I know how I feel about it. by the time it's a price that I would be willing to pay for it, the community is going to be gone, and like you said, it's going to be all those people who just know strategy.
$10 at
Hey,
GameStop.
yeah, that's about my point with this. But I don't know. I think it'll be good. I think it'll do well when it comes out, though.
Hmm.
But so moving on. So these are kind of our more rapid fire games here. So these are games that we played at some point over the past couple weeks for varying lengths of time.
Yeah, I
Some
basically
more than
put in like
others.
an hour, maybe 2 hours into most of these.
Maybe less in a couple of
Maybe
these cases.
less. So this is just like a bunch of first impression. This is gonna be like it's not gonna be rapid fire. We're gonna say it's rapid fire, but it's not really. But we just been playing it. We keep talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 because I think that was like the most interesting game at the time. But then
Yeah,
I think both of us started like play smaller games when we're playing these bigger games, or when we're done with the bigger game, we'll play a few smaller ones before we get to the next bigger one. So this is
yep.
just like a hodgepodge of
Yeah,
games
this is
we've
a
been
really
playing.
weird list of stuff.
Yeah,
So this is probably the biggest game on this list. I feel like, and it was one of
sadly.
the yeah, and it was one of the PS Plus games this month. And that's the Twisted Metal PS3 version, which I tried out just one night. I was a big Twisted Metal fan like years and years ago. I really
Hmm.
haven't touched it since Black, which would have been what 2006,
I mean, it's
five.
not like you missed any.
No, I didn't miss any, but like this is a series that I personally haven't touched in 10 years. Is more
Oh,
what I was
okay.
saying. Um, yeah, I did not care for this. And I know you looked at me weird when I said that, but I was
Yeah.
not a fan. I played maybe a half hour. I think I played maybe two or three matches and just I could not get the gameplay down. It just I don't know.
Yeah, I actually bought this game, oof, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago for like $8 or something like that. Um, the thing I don't like about this game, I think it was kind of the issue you had, is the gameplay is really, really unfriendly to people who are just like trying to like you can't just jump into this game and start playing, which is kind of weird compared to like every other Twist Metal because they're all, especially Twist Metal Black, which is my favorite one. I felt like you could still jump in and have fun, but this game is so freaking fast.
Yeah. I felt like I had no control over my car. Like I felt like everything else was just running past me and I felt like I couldn't think through what was going on, which is weird because I really liked like the more arcadey Twisted Metals on the PS1
Hmm.
were some of my favorites, but this one just like I never felt like I had complete control over my car, and I never felt like I had a good sense of what weapons did and which ones I had. I don't
Yeah,
know, it just
it feels a little bit more like kind of like actually I've heard they were comparing it to Unreal Tournament and Quake, kind of like those like really really fast paced arena shooters, and that's kind of
yeah,
what it feels like. But actually, not that's not what I want to talk about because that's a disappointing aspect of the game. The thing I do want to talk about though is this is my favorite Twisted Metal universe by like far. I love 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 the universe of this Twisted Metal. I don't, you've played the other Twisted Metal games, haven't you?
yeah. I played 1 through 4 in black.
So the thing I kind of like about the series is they sort of like they're not all like direct sequels to each other. They're sort of like different universes, like
Yeah,
almost every single one. So Twist Metal 2 is kind of like a pulpy comic book, kind of like a it's almost like Creep Show because at the end they always like whatever they wished for, they sort of got like it always backfired on them, like kind of like a
yep.
monkey paw sort of thing. Twist Metal 3 and 4, not really gonna talk about those.
Good call.
Those are kind of like non-canon. Um, and then Twist Metal Black was like
Non-canon for the unconnected universes.
yeah, yeah. Well, those weren't made by the actual devs, even though I think Twist Metal 4 is probably my favorite. Um, but then Twist Metal Black kind of took all the humor out of the series and made this like sort of like grim, dark, really
Yeah.
kind of gross. I mean, I love that game. I really like the gameplay in that, but even I like even as like a teenager, I was like, this is a little gross for me. um, like my favorite guy I played as was like a Vietnam War vet who like ate his friend and then wore his skull, and like that was that character. But I really like the new Twisted Metal because it sort of keeps like that weird, gross aspect of Twisted Metal Black, but it's like super self-aware that it's like silly. Like everything in this is like so extreme. It kind of reminded me actually of Brutal Legend. If
No,
no,
I
listen,
love Brutal Legends, so
no,
don't
no,
compare it to this.
listen, no, the universe wise, I'm saying, if Brutal Legend was 70s and 80s rock, then Twisted Metal is like death metal grunge rock from the 90s.
I guess I could kind of see that because the only this game had some long cutscenes that I feel like I played this for like 45 minutes. Feel like I spent 20 minutes watching Sweet Tooth murder people.
Okay, actually, the Sweet Tooth one is the grossest one. That was like the worst one to start with. That is
Oh,
like the other stories are a little bit cheekier. They're a little bit more fun. I thought,
Sweet Tooth was just like, oh yeah, I murdered this person. Now I can throw him in my van and we're gonna leave.
oh yeah, yeah, that was a little messed up. But like the one you like the one of the later ones like you play is Dollface, and Dollface is like I think she was like trying to get like the perfect plastic surgery or something, and something went horribly wrong. So she's like this jilted plastic surgery crazy woman. And you actually, when you fight her in the boss battle, she's actually a giant mech that shoots like flying flaming heads at you, and then it ends with her like kind of like falling onto a bridge, and like you have to shoot her as she's like crawling along the bridge towards you until she falls off, and then the whole thing explodes.
Huh.
Um, so I really like that aspect of the game. I think it's like the most fun universe, but man, the gameplay is just so damn unfriendly.
Yeah, it was one of those games where I sat down and just with it, I almost felt like I'm gonna need to put too much time in this to feel like I can play it.
Yeah.
Like the point where I'm gonna feel like I'm good at this is gonna take way too long to get to for the amount of interest I have in it.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I even beat the game and I still can say that I did not feel comfortable playing it. Like I still didn't quite get how the game played even when I was done with it.
Yeah.
Still a cool
So
universe though. I think that I love the universe. It's so much
yeah,
fun.
and the cutscene was couple cutscenes I saw were very well done, which made me kind of curious because I always like that
Hmm.
story craziness aspect to it. But I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to go back and play it or not. We'll see.
Hmm.
Let's go on here. So moving on. I have no clue what the hell this is. Jean d'Arc?
Jean d'Arc.
Oh, French.
French.
Hey, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay.
This is
What the
um
hell is that?
this is actually a super cool game that like everybody missed, including me. But it's so this game came out on PSP. I don't know. I'm gonna say 10 years ago. I have no friggin' idea. This was like this was an in-house Sony game. So it's like made by Sony, and it is a retelling of the Joan of Arc story as told through like a filter of anime,
That's weird.
and it's a tactical RPG.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I've never played tactical RPG, and I keep hearing this one's pretty easy, and it's like a good beginner's one. So I was like, oh, I'll get that. This game is like, oh my god, I kind of expect it to be pretty good, but I was expecting to be so damn good. Um, First of all, the story is really fun. So it's like Joan of Arc, and I was like saying it's Joan of Arc through an anime filter. It's kind of like what you would expect, like if you were joking how they would retell this story. So King Henry was actually possessed by an evil demon king, which caused him to send the orcs and demons and knights to go attack the French. And Joan of Arc and Joan of Arc receives an artifact that turns her like Sailor Moon almost into this super crazy armor, and through this amulet she hears the voice of God. It's just
This sounds
it's
awesome.
it is awesome. It's actually a lot of fun. And it's really gorgeous too. I've never played a strategy RPG game before, so it's like completely unique to me. So I've never played those sort of battle systems before. The thing I like about it, and the thing that's kind of like made me not want to play a lot of strategy RPGs, is they're so freaking daunting with like so many intricacies and stuff. Like I think both we've discussed before, not on the podcast, but like maybe want to try a Disgaea game, Disgaea. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
Disc.
No.
It's oh okay. Maybe we haven't talked about this.
I have no clue what you're talking about right now, but I'm gonna say cool.
Disc is like it's like the strategy RPG series, but each game's about like a few hundred hours long, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. I think they just announced the newest one for PS4, but they've always seemed like way too daunting. And this game is just really simple. It's pretty easy and it's just fun. And it's kind of like my first strategy RPG with like a really kind of funny story. It's not supposed to be funny, but it's like sort of funny. That's like I feel like this is like what a Japanese person maybe kind of like read a summary of what the Joan of Arc story was,
And just decide to retell it.
but like a poorly translated version of it. Um, but yeah, the character designs are really cool. It's a really gorgeous game too. It's got a really unique art style. It's kind of got like it's got these like sort of like big head characters. I think it's kind of in normal strategy RPGs for whatever reason all the characters have these sort of big heads so you can see them. But the enemy designs are super cool. It's really fun. I don't know. I don't really have much to say. I've only put like maybe 3 or 4 hours into it. But this is like one of those like hidden gems on PSP, and it's never on sale. And I just happened to catch it on sale for like $2 of the last one. But if you ever see this game on sale, Jean d'Arc,
I was
nobody
gonna say I'm
bought it.
super curious right now. So
Oh yeah, No, it's
Mm.
awesome. It's like it's a nice cool down game because like I said, it's not very difficult. But like after playing Soma and one of the other games I'll talk about, it's just a nice one just to sort of relax too.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
So we both played this game. I think it's Zeo Drifter, right? Is
Yeah,
that how you say it?
yeah. I played like not a lot of this game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I only played like an hour. I beat the first boss.
So did I.
I went to like the first planet. So you're basically this game. You're in a spaceship. I didn't really catch much else other than that.
You're in a
And
spaceship that like kind of crash lands or it needs
you
some
need
sort of power
something
source.
because you start with there's like four planets around you, right?
Hmm.
And you pick one. I picked the top one. So maybe
I
we
don't
beat
remember.
different bosses. I don't know because I don't think you had to go in any order.
I had a boss that kind of looked like a hedgehog that sort of like ran back and forth and shot stuff
Yep,
at.
that's the same thing I had.
Okay, that's the one I did. Yeah,
Yeah, so this is kind of a like I don't know Metroid Mega Man style game. I guess would be how would describe it.
yeah, but I kept thinking of those other games and I was like, I'd rather play those games.
Yeah, that was the same reason why I didn't get very far with this. Is there was nothing to suck me in. There was no real story. The gameplay felt like a I don't know, just kind of a not quite as tight version of those games.
Yeah, like I beat my thoughts on this was like this is probably all I'm gonna say is like I beat the first boss. I don't think I'll beat the second. There's nothing that like really stands out about this game. Like it has a okay art style.
Yeah.
It plays okay. It's like one of those games I call like the definition of a video game. Like, yep, that's a video game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Checked all the boxes. Everything's there. Nothing's bad about it. I would
No.
not say this is a bad game. I wouldn't say yeah, I would say this is a game and it has the game stuff that you want to put in a game.
Yeah, like you run, you jump, you shoot. The one thing I didn't like though is that it kind of looked like the game sort of encouraged you because like okay, the thing that is kind of unique about the game is like when you play a level, you beat a boss, you get a power up. That's not the thing, but then it's sort of like depending on what order it is, you can explore different areas of the level. But to me, I always hate that when it's like, oh, you when you play a level the first time, you see all these areas you can't get to because you don't have that power up. So you have to go
Yeah.
through them again to get to like, okay, now I have to replay the stage with those new power ups. But like the first time I went through the stage, it wasn't that great to begin with. So
Yeah, and I think that was always the thing that like Castlevania did really well for me is there was just enough of those to make me remember, oh man, I wonder what's behind that door. But not enough to
yeah,
go, not that door, can't go in that one, can't go in that one. And I think that comes because like we kind of said where it seems like you could kind of get the things in any order.
yeah,
So you kind of just got to load them all up in the front just in case, you don't go in the right order. Whereas Metroid is very linear in the or not well, Metroid is too, but Castlevania is very linear in the progression that you get items in. So, oh,
yeah.
I'm only seeing doors that need this certain thing to open. Once you open those, now it's just this certain thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do appreciate that. I think a lot of people think like, oh, we should just make our game as open as possible and go anywhere. It's like, well, like Metroidvania, but no, like you were saying, there is a very linear upgrade system. Like you get them in a specific order because that's exactly the order they want the game designer wanted you to get them in.
yeah. So I don't know. That's really all I got with this one. It's interesting. It was a PS Plus game. I'd check it out, especially if you're really into those Metroidvania, that kind of style game.
Hmm.
If you're really into that, I'm sure it's probably pretty fun. It's not my favorite style game, so that might be some of my indifference towards it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I believe this is a Vita game, right? Corpse Party.
Uh, I bought this.
You were high. You were really high on this. Like
I
you like this one on sale, and Doug sent out like there's a message with us and a few of our friends, and Doug just sent out you need to buy this, and just sent a link to it.
Yeah, and then I sent a link later. Maybe you guys shouldn't buy this.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what expectations I had in this game at all. I had never played a visual novel game before. Okay,
Yep.
that's not true. I had played Hotel Dusk. But so what this game is, it's basically you just walk through a story. You don't shoot, you don't run, you don't. It's kind of like like when you walk around in like old 16-bit Final Fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And you just
that.
get lots of reading.
Yeah, it's that. It's that. Yeah, it's you walk around and you do lots of reading. And the reason I didn't like this game, I had heard a little bit beforehand that the game was kind of violent. And I was like, okay, I'll be fine. It's just like little chibi, like they look like little Final Fantasy characters. And I thought I was going to be okay with it. So what the story is that you are a group of high schoolers that get trapped in this other world. which is an old abandoned elementary school. And in this elementary school, there's dead bodies everywhere. There's spirits that want to kill you. Uh, there's and that's basically it. Like you're just in this sort of like alternate reality elementary school, and there's spirits that want to kill you. The thing I was really shocked about this game was like I had heard it was like I was saying a little bit violent. It's like it's depraved. Like it is one of the most violent and it's just reading. You're just reading text. They have some pictures that go along with it, but just sort of set the tone for the game itself. There's a character you meet really early on that warns you you're going to die. What you need to fight for is to die with your friends.
That sounds depressing as hell.
It's so depressing. And this is kind of a spoiler, but this is kind of the thing where I was like, this game's probably not for me. So this is a spoiler. So what happens is your character can die based on the decisions you make, and then you get something that says like wrong ending. So you have to go back and you have to maybe go to a different room or do something like that. The point I turned it off was one of my characters. This is a spoiler for the first chapter, so watch out in case there's like maybe some big corpse party fans out there.
Who
You
haven't played the game.
Yeah, true. But this sort of sets the tone. So I found one of my friends trying to commit suicide by hanging themselves. So I run out of the room. I grab a bucket that's full of guts and maggots and stuff, and I like, oh, I can use the bucket to help my friend out. So I dump the bucket out, and they describe like, oh, you get guts and maggots all over yourself. So then I go over to put the bucket under the person who hung themselves' feet, but they are already dead. So they actually show the picture of the person who hung themselves, and it's like really kind of grotesque. But then my character gets possessed by evil spirits because she is so heartbroken, and then the best way I can describe it, swallows a pair of scissors. And
The
then I was
hell?
like, this
No,
game's a
thank
little.
you.
Yeah. I think I've talked about this like on this podcast. Like I'm not totally into violent games and stuff like that, but I was
Yeah.
just like, this is too much for me. And the characters are like 14. Like they're not like dumb college students. They're like kids. And I was like, I think this is just too much for me. Although I will say, if you're like a big horror fan and like you want something to actually, when I was playing it, the thing I did kind of like is that it feels a lot like Silent Hill,
Hmm.
especially the whole other world aspect and like these malevolent spirits and stuff like that. That I liked, but I just, whew, man,
It's
it's just
too
a lot of it's
much.
just text you read too. It's not like super grotesque, but man, it is depressing. So yeah, do not recommend unless you like that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a lot of games that we didn't want to recommend. Well, I guess it was just the last two.
Yeah.
But one that you've been trying to sell me on here for the past couple days, Mega
Yes.
Man Legends. So sell me on this. Why?
Now I'm so glad I bought Mega Man Legends because after Chorus Party, I was like, I need to play something cheery. Um, so Mega Man Legends is, um, I guess it's probably one of my favorite games for the PS1 era. And I think as a kid, I didn't totally understand it because it has a lot of kind of weird mechanics. It's not just a shooter game, or it's not just a third person shooter, kind of like you think like Tomb Raider or something like that. Um, and it's kind of like a mix of Ratchet and Clank style third person shooting. It's not nearly as like clean or it's not well controlling as like Ratchet and Clank or something like that. Mixed with sort of like town gameplay from Final Fantasies. Um, so like you actually go through like dungeons and you'll do like all the shooting action in dungeons, but then you'll return to town. You'll talk with the townsfolk and like go find lost wallets or lost dogs or lost kid. Everybody loses shit in these towns. Um,
That is, there would be no RPG games if people could hold on to their shit.
yeah. That'd be funny.
I feel like that could sum up 90% of side quests. Somebody lost some shit. Go find it
Well,
for
no, if you
them.
think, but even like the major things you always need to get at the end is like the lost treasure of something. So if nobody lost
People
any
need
shit,
to
there'd be
hold
no
on to their
RPGs at all.
shit. Damn.
Um, I like this game a lot, and I was actually kind of surprised how well it held up. The one thing I really like is the art style is super super bright and cheery. It works really really well with PlayStation One era graphics. That's really blocky, but it kind of has this. I don't know what they did, but they sort of did a work around their art style. Like the blockiness really works with it. Like you couldn't see this game looking any better than it does. It works really well with the colors. The textures all are very bright and cheery. The stories like there's like silly pirates and stuff like that. It's not serious at all. There's no like world ending. Well, there's probably gonna be some world ending thing. I'm only a few hours in. Um, Actually, one thing I want to talk about because I actually wanted to play through the first boss fight, or the second boss fight before I came to this podcast. Because I remember as a kid, it was my favorite boss fight ever. And I was hoping, I was like, I was a kid, maybe this won't hold up. And I played it, and it's still one of the best boss fights I've ever played in a game. Uh,
Huh.
it's, it's so you need to play this game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I shouldn't even have to convince you. You should anybody who's listening to this and hasn't played Mega Man Legends, you need to pick up this game immediately. If you like any PlayStation 1 era games at all, this is like one of the best of them. So I'm going to describe the second boss battle. So you walk into a town, and then it suddenly gets attacked by three mechs. And what they're doing is that they're throwing a key in between the three mechs as they're like driving around the town, and you have to shoot and blow up the one that has the key. So you're running around town. These things are throwing mines at you. They're shooting you, and they're actually like zipping around and the town's actually surprisingly big for like anything for like any PlayStation 1 era games, and it's fully 3D. And you're running around shoot them. So you shoot them, you blow them up, and you get the key. And while this is happening, there's actually airships going overhead and dropping bombs on you as well. So you beat the three guys. And you're like, oh, phew, that was a good boss battle. But after you beat the three guys, then a giant spider mech comes down and actually starts destroying the town as you're running around. So you just fought this like huge boss battle with three different bosses, and then so like a fourth one shows up, and this is like only the second like rung of boss battles, and then like
Huh.
you're running around the town, it's blowing up stuff, it's shooting you, it's jumping all over the place. It's just like it's really really well done. I've just never seen any other boss battle like it before. I don't know.
That
This game
sounds
is
really awesome.
it is really awesome. This is actually it's definitely one of my favorite games ever. I will say though, the controls did not hold up well. I would highly recommend googling if you're playing this on Vita or PSP. Highly recommend looking up um, control schemes that you should use, because you definitely need to use custom control schemes to get this thing anywhere near playable. It's like it's way
I feel like
before they
that's how
knew about all this
most.
stuff, huh?
I feel like that's how most PS1 games hold up at this point. Is that's all right. Damn, the controls are shit.
Yeah.
That's every
Yeah.
PS1 game like ever at
It's
this
actually
point. But
it's actually really funny. As I was playing this, all I could think of is like, oh my god, how bad they screwed up that Red Ash Kickstarter we talked about a few episodes ago. Like, holy crap,
yeah,
that was like I can see why people would want a Mega Man Legends 3. And like after I actually played the Red Ash demo, and it's so much worse than this PS1 game. It's so much worse. Like there's none of the cheery aspect of it. There's no fun story. The controls sucked. It was oh my god, it was terrible. But yeah, if you've heard about Mega Man Legends, if like people have said, oh, you should play Mega Man Legends, like you absolutely should get it. Like right now, $10 is like perfect. This game usually costs 90.
well,
So
I'd say it just came out on PSN like in the past week or two, right?
yeah, I don't actually no, it came out like yesterday.
Was it just yesterday? I said
Yeah.
no, it was relatively recent. Does this game have? This would be my one hold up with it. Does this game have the like ridiculously punishing difficulty like the mainline
No,
Mega
it's
Man
super
games?
easy.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I have
Yeah.
a chance
No,
of this.
it's
Then maybe
really
I'll
really
try it.
easy. Yeah. No, it's a really just laid back, easy, fun game. It's like playing a Saturday morning cartoon. It's really good.
Stop making this sound
No, you
good.
should get like of all these games. Like we just talked about like 10 games. Probably talking to more. You should get this over Soma. You should get this over any game.
All right. Well, maybe I'll buy it for the weekend or something. All
Yes.
right. So another game I played. This is another one of the PS Plus games for September. Super Time Force. I think it might have been Super Time Force Ultra subtitle. I don't remember the exact
No,
thing,
no,
but
that's
the
right.
PS4
Super
one.
Time Fortress Ultra STFU. Get it? Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Is that really what it is? Because that totally matches the tone of this game. If that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah, it actually is.
Um, this game is entertaining as hell. I played this for maybe like 2 hours. I don't know how far progression wise because it's kind of more of the Metal Slug Contra type gameplay. So I don't know how long this whole thing is, but
Mhm.
I played maybe 2 hours of it. This is a really interesting game just because the way it's presented is just like time travel bullshit. And like everything's like, and yesterday today I was going to do this, but now I'm this. Remember when I was this? Wasn't that tomorrow? No, it's yesterday. There's like so much of that like just
Yeah.
random just bullshit time travel stuff, and it's so entertaining. Um I'm not a big fan of like Contra and Metal Slug, and I think that's why I kind of stopped, just because it's those types of games.
Mhm.
So that should give you a good idea if you're gonna like it or not. If you like those, you'll like this.
I
The one
can't believe you're
interesting
not a fan of
mechanic with
Metal
it.
Slug. That's like,
What?
I can't believe you're not a fan of Metal Slug. Everybody loves Metal Slug.
I just get bored with it. It's just you run forward and you shoot stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never got it. Just never got it. I've played a couple. I just, I don't know. Not a fan. But with it though, the weird mechanic with it is that when you die, you time travel and add in another character.
Hmm.
So like I got through like the first boss fight, and if you just run up and you just try and shoot it, you pretty much die because there's a time limit you're always trying to beat. So there's just plain and simple not enough time to beat it. So you have to go and start shooting it, die, and then you rewind time. You got a second character. Or you go up, you start shooting it, rewind time again, and then as you're shooting it, you just really really hope that you get enough that time, and you just keep rewinding time to the point where you have like 17 different characters on screen, all shooting at this one boss,
Hmm.
and it just ends up being like super crazy, and it's a really weird mechanic that like encourages you to die, which seems like a really weird thing for a game to do.
That's the thing I didn't like about the game was that mechanic. I only got through about the tutorial of it because I felt like it kept just slowing me down. Like I just wanted to play the level, but I had to keep like restarting and restarting and restarting and restarting. I understood that was like the main mechanic, but I just felt like I was just running and then like they just jammed the brakes on you. And I didn't like, and that's what I didn't really like about it because
Yeah,
it takes a while to build up to that like craziness.
yeah, if you're not okay replaying the same thing over and over again, totally not a game for you at
I
all.
thought you hate that.
I do, and that's like I said. I think that's maybe more so than the Contra Metal Slug S gameplay. It's the fact that it's that gameplay that I'm not a huge fan of,
Hmm.
and I have to keep doing it over and over again. I
Yeah.
think that might be my issue. I think if it just had the weird, crazy story and great humor bits thrown in to a Contra Metal Slug, I think I'd like it a lot. But doing the same thing over and over and over again gets a little old, especially when you get to those boss fights and you need to get like 10 or 15 characters on screen.
Hmm.
it's it's interesting, but I don't know. Like you said, it makes it feel slow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was stuck with. I just kind of want to play Metal Slug. Like I wanted to play like the part where I'm like running through. I just don't want to keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. This is another PS Plus game. I haven't tried this one yet, but I know you put some time into it. La Mulana.
I only have one sentence. This game was too hardcore for me.
this
Next.
is a this is a bullet hell, right?
No, it's like a oh my god. I it's a platformer kind of action adventure game. Kind of like Splunky was heavily inspired by this game.
Okay.
But it doesn't have randomized levels, but it has really obtuse puzzles. It's really easy to die. I maybe if you like Splunky, you'd like this game. I can understand there's definitely a market for this, but like it's kind of that Bloodborne, Dark Souls. Nothing is explained. You need to figure everything else out by
Oh,
dying, and
nope.
it's gonna punish the crap out
Pass.
of you until you do. And I just like I'll wait till Dark Souls
Pass.
3.
Pass.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, Brad, you should not play this game.
Well, I might as well just go delete that off my Vita. That threw me out.
I'll bet you'll probably get like I don't think you even get 5 minutes into it. I couldn't handle the hardcoreness of it. I like Bloodborne and Dark Souls a lot, but man, I just wasn't prepared for that. On like my Vita is kind of like my lay back, chillax. Let's play
Relaxing.
some just fun small games.
Play some hot shots.
Yeah,
Little.
this was not that.
All right. Well, that was a quick one.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. I didn't know you even bought this. I'm really curious. Grim Fandango.
Yes. I can buy games without telling you. Um,
How dare you?
I bought Grim Fandango. Grim Fandango is kind of how I felt about Psychonauts, and I really like Psychonauts. Is the world, the characters, the dialogue completely on point and amazing. Gameplay is kind of this is if you like games that have just really interesting environments. This is kind of the setup for the game is super cool. You play as Manny, who is a travel agent for the dead,
Yep.
and his job is when somebody dies, he can sell them three packages to get to the afterlife. So you can sell them a train ticket, which is like the highest package that they can get. He can sell them like a car, like a taxi ride, or he just makes them walk. And basically, how good the client was in the previous life makes them like more able to buy things. So if you're like a nun or something like that, then then he would have a chance to sell you the train ticket. But he keeps getting like mafia dons who like who and he can't like sell them anything because they were so crappy in the previous life. Like they don't have any like afterlife money or like any sort of like self worth. So he basically keeps like handing out walking canes. They have to like walk the way to the afterlife, and it's like, and so that's kind of the concept of our game, which is always like kind of already weird and unique. Um, and there's sort of like a mystery going on. I don't. It's kind of. I don't really want to get into like more of the story, but if you like games with interesting environments and stuff and interesting characters, then you should pick up this game. But it has a really obtuse adventure game logic. If you've like from these early adventure games, which is kind of hard to describe if you haven't. But basically, the part I got stuck at was I was supposed to put bread into a mail slot, and I didn't know why. Um, but you could
Well,
do
why
that.
wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then you break down the mail slot, which pisses off the mail guy. And then you go downstairs, and the guy's all mad, and he sets on fire. But luckily, he had a fire extinguisher to put him out. And at that point, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and I stopped playing at that point. I was like, I don't understand the logic of why I was. I was just sort of like clicking on things to see if they could do things, and that's what happened. I was like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, what is the point of all this? So like a lot of that adventure game logic is kind of built in, and if you're not used to that sort of gameplay, you might not like it.
Gotcha.
But I really enjoyed it. Well, I don't know if I really enjoyed it. I'll probably go back to it eventually, just because of I think the story is interesting and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny, like they make the land of the living like the most horrifying place ever. So when you visit the land of the living, it's actually kind of fun, and not and like there's a weird art style that I wasn't quite expecting. So yeah, I mean that's kind of my thoughts on Grim Fandango. I'll probably eventually get back to it. I can see why people would say, "Oh, this is the greatest game ever," but really, it's like the gameplay does not hold up at all, and especially that sort of like weird adventure game logic from way back when, where you sort of just have to. It doesn't really make sense why certain items do certain things.
Yeah. So this is the last one. This is again another PS Plus game from this past month
Mm-hmm.
that was actually voted in. Which did they vote this month?
Yeah. This is the winner.
No, for October because they just announced a bunch of games for October this morning. And I don't remember voting for anything.
Oh, that's true. Weird. They
I
did not
wonder
have a
if
vote this year. This
this month.
time.
Huh. Well, that was short lived. Anyway, but this won the vote, and that was Grow Home,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of those small Ubisoft games like Child of Light and the other one.
Blood Dragon.
There you go.
Yeah,
Um, Kind of in that same vein where it's just one of those Ubisoft teams working on something smaller, more of a passion project.
these are the guys who
Uh,
did Driver.
yeah, which this is not like Driver.
No.
I didn't get too far into this. I had some issues with the controls that drove me slightly insane, and just with what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, and that got to me enough that I think I put it down after about an hour. I don't know how far did you get into this?
I got about 3 hours in, and the gameplay doesn't really change. It's kind of like there's definitely not. I mean, there's might be a story. I haven't really discovered it so far, but it's sort of this. It kind of feels more like a toy box kind of game. It
Yeah, definitely felt like more like just a go play around, have fun.
Yeah, and if you don't buy into that like immediately, then you're probably not gonna have fun. Especially at the end, the controls are kind of like you like wrestle with them, which is kind of fun because it makes sense for the character because he's kind of like a dopey looking robot.
Yeah.
Um, but it can be really frustrating because like he has this weird momentum to him that like if
Mm-hmm.
you kind of push forward and stop, he doesn't just stop; he sort of takes a few more steps, which
Yep.
can be really frustrating if you're really high up, and
Yep.
because like
You're almost describing exactly where I got to when I stopped playing this game.
yeah, and the thing that's kind of cool though is I would say that it gets more exciting as you keep going because you don't realize how big that plant can grow. So like when I first started, I was like, oh okay, I'll grow out of here. I sort of get how the plant's growing. You have to kind of take its vines to these crystal plants, these
Yep.
floating islands, and it kind of grows. Um, but the thing is, like, I'm 3 hours into it, and I'm still in the first like area, but now I'm like thousands of feet in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So it has this really cool sense of scale. That's kind of like I guess Silver Games would be like Katamari or what's a game with a good Just Cause 2 has a really good sense of scale where it's just like this massive thing, and I think that's just kind of exciting. But if you I liked it, but again, like I got that far and I sort of stopped playing because I kind of got where it's going. It does feel kind of like a toy. It kind of feels like something you can sort of like drop in, play around a little bit, like like an action figures. I don't know. I don't have any. I haven't played with action figures in forever, but you can't play with an action figure for hours on end. I guess. I don't
No,
know.
I get what you're saying. It's one of those like good for a short time period. And I think, like I said, so I stopped. I started climbing that damn plant,
Hmm.
and I got a certain way up, and I fell off and fell like all the way back to the bottom.
Yeah,
And this was after like trying to figure out because like the climbing controls are weird because it like uses the shoulder buttons for your arms
I
and you have
actually
to
like that a
hold things
lot.
down to
Yeah.
grab, and that irritated me from the beginning. So I finally figured out enough to get up like not even very far. Like it was maybe like 100 or 200 feet was all. Like not very
Hmm.
far at all. And then I jumped to something and was pushing forward, stopped, and like you said, he kind of takes like that extra like half step or extra step or two, and just right back down to the bottom. And I said, "Well, that was grow home. I'm gonna pretend the credits rolled there."
They do help you though. There are like teleports and stuff that you get like as you go farther up when you get to like main areas. And that is something that's kind of frustrating. But you sort of learn to you can create more vines to sort of like at the base to sort of help you if you ever do start falling. So you actually grab on a vine and like maybe not destroy yourself or something like that. So you do
Oh,
kind of learn to like kind of create a safety net for yourself. And it is kind of cool. Like the gameplay, it feels sort of like that like there's no safety net. Like you need to build your own safety net. It's up to you to climb up that vine. Like there's no automatic climbing. Like you really are like grabbing one by one by one by one, which feels really fun when you actually get to the top and really really sucks because it took a lot of work to get up there the first time when you fall down like that. And I can see why that sort of gameplay would get kind of frustrating. And like again, like I'm playing all these other games. I put a few hours in that, but like I'm probably gonna just finish Mega Man Legends before I touch anything else, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know. It was interesting, and that's what I wanted from it. So
Hmm.
hey, it entertained me for an hour, which for the price of free, I'm not gonna argue with that.
Yeah.
But so that's a little bit different than we normally do this. No news this week. There really wasn't too much going on anyway. That really
No.
came out. So we might hit a couple of these things next week, but most of them tiny things, nothing too interesting. But we'll be back next week with another episode. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at darksliders_pod. Subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, whatever other fine podcasting establishment you may be listening to us from. Uh, but yeah, we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.
Yep. All right.